Welcome back to Dolphins In Depth, a podcast provided to you by the Miami Herald. We are here to recap day 7 of training camp for the Miami Dolphins, the second day of padded practice. Unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties, so we were not here to give you the preview of the first day of padded practice. However, we will condense our observations for the first 2 days here right now on this podcast. Joining me is Isaiah Smalls. Isaiah, what are your takeaways from padded day number 2?
I mean, there's some players, right, that when you put the pads on, they just kind of reach a different level. Obviously, there's some guys that, shrink when they get the pads on. But, man, there's a few guys that pads, no pads, helmet, no helmet. Like, them guys is just dogs. And I specifically want to just shout out, Willie Gay Jr., who's just been all over the place. A nice little ball of energy, as I described him in my question to McDaniel earlier. So he's just flying around making plays. I think he had another sack today, had another PBU. Like, it's insane how much this guy has just been making plays. And it's going to really put pressure on Weaver and them to, really find some lineups that can incorporate him because, as it stands now, they kind of already have their starting inside linebackers with Tyrell Dodson, who led the team in interceptions last year, and Jordan Brooks, who inched his way up into being statistically one of the best tacklers in Miami Dolphins history. And so I don't know what they're going to do, but they have some look, that's why they get paid the big bucks, right? I'll just say that. And then on the opposite side of the ball, Patrick Paul, I mean, in one-on-ones, he's basically been an immovable object. Like, it's difficult to get around him. He stood up Bradley Chubb, who had been, certainly one of the stars of training camp. Between those two guys,
down too. One player, he put him down. Listen,
exactly.
I gotta give Patrick Paul his props. I've liked what he did last training camp. I thought he was solid. I thought to myself, okay, this is a young man that could potentially be ready to start. He wasn't necessarily needed to start. I think he played 332 snaps. I know that number because I've written it so much. Yeah. It was, it was okay. It wasn't great, but this is a different dude right now. He is whooping, what, and taking names. And that growth is definitely showing in the padded practices. Alexander Madison is another guy who has really stepped up during these padded practice. It just looks different, his runs. Some players slow down when the pads come on. For sure. And then some players speed up when the pads come on. Alexander Madison is one of those guys. He just got faster. D. Eskridge is another player who has been making plays with and without pads. He caught a deep pass today. They used it as a Dolphins highlight. I actually thought the safety could have gotten him, prevented him from scoring that touchdown. But then when you watch the Dolphins highlight, yeah, he was moving too fast for that safety to even tag him up like that. Yeah. So that was another one of the top standouts. But then we've also got some issues and some crises in this Dolphins secondary, which has suffered 3 pretty much serious, significant injuries. We're not sure if Ashtyn Davis, how long he's going to be sidelined with a left leg injury. According to Mike McDaniel, they're very fortunate to know that it wasn't the Achilles, which would have been scary, would have been done, would have been stick a fork in it. So there's hope that Ashtyn Davis will return to the team this season, but it doesn't look like he's going to be bouncing back anytime soon. And then the horrible news is that Kader Kohou, the Dolphins starting nickel cornerback, probably the best cornerback on the team based on what he'd been doing in the first week in the OTA program, suffered a season-ending knee injury. He's going on IR for the year. His year is done. That was very disappointing to Mike McDaniel and to the entire team because one of the weakest areas of the team just got significantly weaker. And he was the only holdover from last year's starting unit that was still here. Now the question is not only who plays nickel, but who steps up in this secondary because you got two auditions. Actually, more than two. There are there are four auditions for starting spots in the secondary. Two boundary cornerback spots, a nickel starting spot, and then a starting strong safety spot to pair with Minkah Fitzpatrick. It's anybody's guess who could take any of those jobs. Who are you handicapping? Who would you get the best odds to, Isaiah?
I think let's say I'm going to start with boundary corners, right? And let's just take a step back because to me, I think the question is like, who are the leaders that are going to emerge in that cornerback room, right? Because McDaniel said from day one that Kader and Artie Burns, who, suffered the torn ACL last week, those were the leaders, right? So now those guys are basically done for the season, or no, not basically, are done for the season. Now, who's going to be those guys that step up? So on the boundary, I'm going to go Kendall Sheffield, the corner that they signed, during the later stages of free agency. And then I'm going
rookie camp audition guy. Go ahead. That's what it was.
Yes, definitely. And then Storm Duck opposite him. Like outside of Kader, Storm has probably had the strongest performance from the boundary cornerback position. He's gotten a few PBUs, got his hands on some balls, no turnovers, right? No picks or fumble recoveries or forced fumbles, but he's getting his hands on the ball in the right place. And he looks, physically, seeing him, he got a little bit leaner. The muscle stands up because he looks bigger, but he said he's about the same way, just got more leaner and, cut down his body fat. So those are the two guys on the boundary. In terms of the nickel, I'm going to go with the guy that's played the most snaps in the entire room at that position, i.e. Mike Hilton. Right,
might be the most snaps of all defenders. Now that I think about it, Mike Hilton.
Yeah, he's 31, right? So I'm thinking about who else could be up there in terms of age, and no one's kind of coming to mind.
Minka's up there in age.
But but Minka's my age. Minka's hasn't turned 30 yet.
Yeah, that's true. Okay.
Yeah, so he's probably played to your point, the most snaps out of anybody on that defense, right? So he's gonna hold down that nickel spot. Michael.
You think?
I hope so. If he's anywhere near the production that he's given in the past, it would be somewhat okay. I know last year probably was considered a down year for him, but you talk to the people within the Bengals locker room, the media, that is a physical guy who is the heart and soul of that defense, even when they weren't that good last year, right? So hopefully he'll step up, have a similar effect, and then at that strong safety corner spot, I'm going to go with a guy that has gotten a lot of praise from Weaver, but not necessarily has gotten the snaps, in Elijah Campbell, right? That is a guy that Mike and Anthony Weaver have really just praised throughout the process, throughout the past year, really. So I'd have to give it to him. Those are my guys that I think would step up. Barring, obviously Iffy, right? But Iffy's currently on PUP, and we don't know when we'll see him either. So.
Yeah, I gotta acknowledge the fact that a crisis unit is in crisis right now, and what I just keep remembering and recalling and going back to the days when there are young cornerbacks that make a name for themselves. Kader wasn't always a nickel. He was an undrafted rookie like a B.J. Adams and Ethan Robinson, where he made plays against the third teamers, and he got his opportunity because Nick Needham went down and during the season, and then Kader showed up, and Kader played well, and Kader grew into his role. I go back to days where I can remember covering the Dolphins, and there's a guy named Jimmy Wilson, who old school Dolphin fans remember, not really old school. Jimmy Wilson was a convict who got out of jail, finished his career because he did in a dispute that involved his mother. He killed the man that was attacking his mother, and then did some jail time, got out of jail, went to the University of Utah State, and then the Dolphins drafted him in the 7th round. He showed up here and was immediately a rookie day one playmaker, and eventually carved out a nickel role for himself and a part-time starter, but he flashed early. Nick Needham flashed early. We didn't even know who Nick Needham was. And then all of a sudden, this undrafted rookie becomes a starter in 2019. Wins a game, which led to the infamous, Nick Needham's a superstar. People don't remember why I call him superstar. That's because Brian Flores said, y'all out here gonna make him a superstar, because we were giving him praise for how well he started to play. And I was like, yeah, every day, every time I reference him, I'm gonna call him superstar. He's now with the Cleveland Browns, but the Dolphins. My point is, guys are stepping up and making plays. I can only recall Jason Marshall Jr., Dante Trader, and then Minkah Fitzpatrick making a play in 7 practices.
Isaiah Johnson didn't make a.
That was in OTAs.
That was OTAs. Yeah, that was OTAs. Dang, you're right. You're right. Yeah, those are the only guys that have made plays, and it's been at least from younger guys. Obviously, a lot of what Minkah does won't necessarily show up on the stat sheet, right? But from those 3 guys that you mentioned, obviously Trader's been kind of in my head, but from those 2, it's those singular plays that you're talking about, those picks. It's been off. It's been a one-off. Excuse me. Like, we haven't seen anything since. If anything, we've seen is, especially for Jason Marshall Jr., he's gotten torched a few times.
Oh yeah.
And that's, obviously he's a rookie, right? He has a lot to learn, a lot to grow, but you got to call it like you see it, right? And he's been torched a few times. So that playmaking that you're saying that past younger guys have flashed, you're right. Haven't really seen it much. And
I will say this. I praised Tua for 7 days of no interceptions, not even close to any interceptions. Yeah. I think I could really count his incompleted passes, because, it's just a level of efficiency from Tua. But how much of that is because of the secondary that he's going against? We have to wonder about that, because, yes, Tua's level has elevated, but would it look the same if Jalen Ramsey or Xavier Howard were on the field? I'm just asking the question.
No, that's a good question. I feel like that's a good question. Something that we won't necessarily have an answer to until next week, right? When they're in Chicago facing that defense, and specifically facing a corner that could have been grabbed in favor of Mr. Kim Smith, but that's neither here nor there. Go ahead.
Listen, but somebody has to step up. But getting on to Tua Tagovailoa is just the model of consistency, efficiency, and oddly enough, he's being more critical of himself than we are, because he's saying there are things that I go into the day wanting to achieve that I'm not achieving. Here is Tua sort of evaluating his first 7 days of training camp practice.
Yeah, continuing to work on the things that I feel I'm good at, but also trying to get better and trying to still master a lot of the concepts, in which still give me conflict with different coverages, or one look at a coverage pre-snap to post-snap. So still trying to work on
Do you
that.
sometimes go to coach or to lead and be like, can we get this extra look so that I can get a look against something that does give me issues? Like, how does that communication work in terms of how they can present to you things that you need to see?
Yeah, no, I talk to the players more than I talk to the coaches about certain things. And then if I really do need something back again, then I'll go mention that to Mike. I have conversations with Weave about certain looks that they do, reasons as to why they do it, and then why I think that's very helpful for my game. So we go about it in that sense, but just coming out, not knowing what they're going to do, I think that's the way to do it in training camp, so that as you go out with what your sound bites are, your footwork, what you should be thinking of, if you go out there and you're thinking about the right stuff, then we'll see it on film. And if you're not, that too, we'll see it on film, and you'll feel that as well in practice.
What's the conversations like with Minkah when I've seen you go up to him and ask him about, I guess, particular looks? What are those conversations about?
Yeah, he's had a couple looks where he wasn't happy with himself in regards to what I did with my eyes or what I did with my footwork to flip back to throw to where he potentially should have been. And then there are also some where he was baiting me into throwing it, and then, you know, as you can see on the film, could it have been a pick, could it have been a big hit? You know, we don't know. I'm just trying to talk with him because it looked like he was going to the post. Then he ends up becoming a robber. You know, I don't know. The pre-snap to post-snap, the games that he plays with me, I really enjoy that, and he's helping get me better as well as vice versa.
That said, 7 practices, no picks for you. What do you think is contributing to that? And during camp, when a lot of things can be installed, and sometimes you are in a position where it's tough on the quarterback.
Yeah. I would say I'm not thinking too much about if I throw an interception or if I don't throw an interception. In camp, you just want to see how consistent you can be with the plays that you're given. And a lot of the times I'm just going to try to see what this is going to look like and what this is going to play like. And if you want to try to see if this fits in this window on a certain pass, you try to see it. I mean, we did that today on one of the first plays maybe of camp today. So, you know, I'm not really basing it off of what the result is or isn't for myself in this training camp. I have about 2 or 3 things max that I have for myself that I'm focusing on for each practice that I go out there. And I can tell you, like, 2 of the 3 things I did not do really well today. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not result oriented, you know, because I know for myself what I wanted to get done, and I wasn't able to get that done.
Yeah, so Tua, is he justified for being more critical of himself than the media has been?
I think so, for real, because I think when it comes to Tua, right, there's always going to be a lot of conversation about his availability, right? But if we take a step further and look into, you know, some of the numbers that he's put up when he has been available, they've been pretty solid, right? However, there's been, as I reported in my story about Tua, there has been, I believe, a dozen or so games where he's thrown multiple interceptions, more than one, right? And so specifically look at last year, right? There was 2 games. He had 2 games in which he threw 3 picks, right? And so if you're thinking about how to get better on the margins, right? Because to me, that's where the game of football is won, right? It's won in the very small, simple details, right? And for him to kind of take this approach where it's not results oriented, because the question I asked him was, okay, how has your approach to practice changed? And the thing that he told me was when he first got in the league, it was more results oriented, right? He was looking to throw touchdowns. He was looking to throw completions, and he was knocking himself for the incompletions and knocking himself for the interceptions, right? But a few years ago, essentially, he kind of changed his mindset and started doing what you heard there, finding these 2 or 3 goals to get better at in each and every practice, right? And to me, it's a kind of a real life example of the popular adage, like, how do you eat an elephant? 1 bite at a time, right? And so how do you become better as a quarterback? It's 1 little improvement at a time, right? And so for him to kind of take this very detailed oriented approach, I mean, it speaks to the growth of him, not just as a man, but as a quarterback. You know, he wants to get better on the margins, because at the end of the day, you know, let's put the availability aside, right? He still hasn't been a premier quarterback when he's been available. He's been good. He's been really good at times, but he hasn't been elite premier. And so I think these are the steps he's trying to take to get to that level. Because it was funny, one of the Mark Stallworth at the Miami Times asked him a question like, how did it feel to see, you know, Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith get their rings? And, you know, of course, you know, he plays for rings too, right? Like, that's what he wants. He wants a ring in general. But I'm sure seeing those 2 guys, former Bama teammates of his, kind of lit a little bit of an extra fire, if you will.
Okay, so you're saying Tua a little bit ring jealous. Okay, gotcha. We all know that the season goes as well as Tua performs, but the one unit that I have been ultra critical of up until the last 2 days has been the offensive line. I would make the argument to you that unit might be even thinner than cornerback. And we've had this discussion on this podcast.
Yeah.
Right now, Isaiah, I would struggle to name you a backup that I would want on the 53-man roster outside of Andrew Myers. Because what Andrew Myers has been doing as a third-team center, holding it down for the starter, I don't think we could give enough props.
Yeah.
We don't see any snapping issue. You don't see Benito Jones and Kenneth Grant collapse in the pocket. Andrew Myers is proving he's a little sponge worthy. I don't know if you get the Seinfeld reference, but you like Seinfeld, sponge worthy.
Okay, I've seen Seinfeld. I've seen it. I don't remember that one. That one definitely opened my head a little bit.
It's about Elaine and the sponges.
Oh yes. Okay, yes.
So
okay.
I've always used the sponge. Are you sponge worthy for being on my 53-man roster? You know what I'm saying? Andrew Myers probably the only backup to me that I would say, okay, check. Okay. You can make my 53. Everybody else, Isaiah.
And that's outside of Liam, correct? Outside of Liam?
Yeah, Liam's not practicing right now. Liam would look like Captain Save a Team right now if he were actually practicing. Like these guys, like if you think Liam is bad, woo, these guys are bad. What I have liked about the padded practices is that you get better gauge of where they are. And as we talked about earlier, Patrick Paul, I'm putting out this Bane gif because he looks like his helmet looks like Bane. He looks like Bane, the character from Batman. Yeah. Has this nasty, vicious look to him. And when he plays, you could tell he engulfs his player. It's like once the hands are on you, you're not going nowhere. Yeah. And you're not going through him. He's too big for you to go around him. So I like what I'm seeing there. And I also like what I've seen from James Daniels the past couple of days. He's got a full clearance to participate without any limits. And he has kind of been turning it up since we've had some padded practice. And here's James Daniels talking about his journey.
I was good. Extremely hot. That was probably the hottest practice I've ever had. And I don't even think to here. I mean, we practiced at 9 a.m., so it wasn't that hot relative to Miami, but it was good. It was really nice. I mean, last time I fully got dressed and played football, I got carted off the field in Indy, so it's pretty cool to be able to practice and go through all the reps and all that stuff.
How would you describe your progress, just being able to do more as you go?
Progress is going well. I believe I meet with my doctor either today or tomorrow, and then I believe after that meeting, I'll be cleared. So I'll be cleared today or tomorrow whenever I get a chance to meet with him. So progress has been going good, and it's really been nice. It just sucks. It's hard to play football when you don't have pads on. It's you can do as much drill work, you can push as many sleds as you want, but really going out there and having to play and react, it's been really good for me. I've been grateful for the trainers and the plan they have me on to ramp me up. So it's been good so far.
What changes when the pads go on in terms of from the physicality? What can you do differently that you couldn't do last week?
So there's no, for example, when you hit a linebacker, there's unwritten rules of practice. When you're not in pads, linebackers aren't sticking their shoulders in. They're we're protecting each other. But pads on, for example, you can stick your shoulder in, or we could do one-on-one pass rush. So it's just obviously we're still protecting each other, but we're able to actually fit into blocks. They can actually play box. They can actually bull rush, things like that. So it's very helpful for us and the defense as well.
What has kept you motivated throughout your recovery process? I'm sure there's times where you want to push your body, right? But it's I don't know if I should do this. So what has kept you motivated throughout this process?
Just trying to get back. I mean, it's a tough injury to come back from, but I mean, just seeing there's going to be other people who tear their Achilles this year and the year after. And when the first thing I got hurt, I looked at anyone I knew who tore their Achilles and I just asked them for advice. And so it's just I just want to be that guy. People can ask me because Achilles tears are going to happen down the road. And so I just want to be that guy. When people ask me hey, how did it go for you? And tell them my progress and things like that, because I couldn't I only knew one person personally who tore theirs, and then except for that, I was just going online and like reading up on stuff on that.
Who is that one person that you know?
His name's Isaac Butger. I played with him. He tore his Achilles once at Iowa, and then he tore it with Buffalo, I think 2021 or 2022. And his was, his was way worse than he was also in his contract year too in Buffalo, and then so he was a very good person to talk to, and I got a lot of advice from him.
Yeah, that's James Daniels, who I can argue right now would probably be my second best offensive lineman behind Patrick Paul. You agree or disagree?
I think so. I haven't necessarily seen anything wrong from, Austin Jackson, from Jonas Savai. I haven't seen anything necessarily wrong, but you're right. Patrick Paul, they've had more plays where it's like, oh, like you did that against that guy? The one that stands out today for me, for James Daniels, was him putting Jalen Phillips in the ground, right? And he won't have to face edge rushers like that, more interior guys, unless they're doing, stunts or whatnot. But it's certainly been impressive. Those two guys, for sure, have been very, very good. I'm just interested to see how it looks whenever Brew comes back. Obviously, no knock on Meyer, right? Andrew Meyer's been holding it down. Certainly has played himself into a backup role for sure, but definitely want to see what it looks like when Brew gets out there.
Yeah. Let's get into some of the surprising players. I will say Quinn Ewers surprised me a little bit. He had a nice little stretch of 2 days.
Yeah.
Has tapered off a little bit.
For sure.
Zach Wilson had a nice practice today. Who in that backfield has surprised you? Or receiver unit?
I was gonna say Theo Weiss Jr. Like him and Quinn Ewers have developed a little bit of a connection, right? And he just makes plays, right? He can just catch the ball. Very seldomly do I see him, put the ball on the ground, which is, always something you got to look for young receivers, right? So I've been thoroughly impressed with him. During that red zone portion where Quinn Ewers really lit it up, who was he finding most? Theo Weiss Jr., right? When stuff has gone wrong for him and he's kind of had to scramble a little bit, who has he found? Theo Weiss Jr., right? And so just from that alone, that rapport that they're developing,
yeah,
I don't know if it's something that is just strictly because it's them two, or will Weiss kind of have a similar connection with other players? But all I know is he has looked like one of the, outside of Jalen, outside of Tyreek, he has looked like, and maybe D. Eskridge, he has looked like one of the top receivers in that unit for sure.
I definitely agree with you from that standpoint. Somebody I haven't learned his number yet, but I do know his name. You know who else I pay attention to? Matt Dickerson, 98 defensive lineman. He was on the practice squad last year and then got elevated to the 53 as 6-year veteran. Probably might be one of my tougher decisions for the 53-man roster because I think it's going to come down to the exhibition season. He's been making plays. He doesn't just look like a camp body. And then Grayson Murphy Jr.
Yeah.
Does he have a junior on his name? Grayson Murphy? I can't remember if he's a junior or not. He was a young player that impressed last year as an undrafted rookie. Got to the exhibition season and then suffered a knee injury very early on. He's flashed a number of days.
Not just in training camp too. Like the minute that they were back out on the field, OTAs, minicamp, he was doing his thing there too, for sure.
Yeah, so that's one of those young players that I'm like, let me continue to watch this player. Now for the secondary, can't really name anybody that stands out.
Nope, not really.
Yeah, I am curious to see how this progresses moving forward. Fast forward to Chicago week, fast forward to Detroit week. not only the joint practices, but will they see the need to call in some more reinforcements and call in for some help? I don't know. I don't know the answer. I can't sit there and tell you that these guys are doing bad. They're not getting torched generally. Jack Jones did get torched today, but generally they're not getting torched. But I also can't tell you that they're doing well. So I'm kind of in a tough spot because I'm like, how much help is really needed here? And I'm just waiting for somebody to step up and say, this is my job. I got this.
That's real. And I mean, look, people are talking about it on Twitter after I tweeted out my story, but it remains to be seen if this efficiency that Tua is showing is because of the lackluster talent in that corner group, right? That's something we don't know, right? We're evaluating people often kind of misconstrue our jobs. We're evaluating strictly what we see, right? Yeah. It's just that. And so if someone is killing you, it's kind of implied that he's killing it on the people that, are lining up opposite of him, right? And so it kind of remains to be seen, is this just something specific to this cornerback unit, or is it, but I will say this, though. I think, before pads came on, the edge rushers were in the backfield a lot. Past couple days, not so much.
No.
Right? Not so much. And so,
yeah.
I think that deserves to be said. Obviously got to give credit to that offensive line, but also to Tua as well, right? For being able to get the ball out, not holding it too long, all that stuff. So
yeah, definitely. But I as you pointed out, and we'll write in the Miami Herald, Willie Gay Jr.'s beast mode every day. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I'm at the point where you got to give that guy a package or something. He got to come on the field. He definitely has to. He has such a wide range of versatility in terms of what he could do, the blitzing, the gap filling for run stops, the coverage. He's had his hands on 3 balls. Should have brought down all 3, but didn't. If I'm Willie Gay Jr., I'm hitting that jug machine because these interceptions, they gotta. Yeah, you be a $15 million a year player. You pull them down, and you pull them down for the season.
Look, he need to talk to Tyrell Dodson, man. Tyrell Dodson, like, he led the team in interceptions last year. They need to,
He didn't get paid though. He didn't get paid. On that note, we will be back on Friday. No practice on Thursday. It's a day off for the Dolphins. Then Saturday, not joint practice. Scrimmage-like situation.
Okay.
It's usually I'm just throwing it out there
in front of the members only.
Yeah, members only. Oh yeah, they always say the best for the members only.
Okay.
Now, if you are a member, I would strongly encourage you to attend that practice. Even if you aren't a member, I encourage you to go and make them turn you away because it's going to be a hot practice out there. I'm excited to see what happens on Saturday. I'm curious to see if the starters will get a lot of run or if this will be a great audition for the backups. We don't know, but hopefully it'll be a very interesting practice. But Friday and Saturday, strongly encourage, open to the fans. So definitely hope to see you attend. On that note, Dolphins in Depth, we are out, and we will see you again on Friday.